Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kirbside podcast. I am your host, Jay Kirby, joined here by a voice acting icon, one of my favorites, Brian Donovan, the voice of the famous Rock Lee, and Davis from
Rocky.
Digimon. Oh my goodness.
That's right, man. I even have props. Let me see. Hold on a second. I just realized I'm here. All right. There you go.
Yes, yes.
Old bushy brow, baby. Old bushy brow.
So, Brian, thank you for joining me. Thank
Yeah,
you,
thanks for having me, man.
of course. Thank you all for watching. As always, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, check out all our other episodes here on YouTube. We've got some amazing interviews that are on their way at the time of recording, and some amazing episodes with voice actors that we've already dropped. So go check those out. Some wonderful talents, some wonderful people have been through here, and we appreciate your help and support. As always, shout out to our sponsors, Raise Energy, available at repsports.com. Use the promo code Kirbside8 at checkout for your special little discount. And Jerky.pro, same promo code Kirbside8 at checkout. They have some delicious jerky, some delicious flavors. Go try them out. They are wonderful. And of course, to our partners, Collected Comics, here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and their 3 locations. Go give them your business. They're wonderful people. They have an amazing selection in their 3 stores. So go find you something nice, especially while they're doing deals for these next few weekends. So with that, Brian, once again, thank you for joining me. Um, I had a mutual friend of ours connected us, Tony, and I don't know if he told you this, but Davis and Rockley are both 2 of my favorite characters from their franchises. So the fact
Ah,
that
that's awesome, man.
so the fact that
No, he did
you
not tell me that. He just said that,
wonderful.
he'd love to try and hook us up. So no, that means a lot to me, as you can imagine.
Oh yeah.
And I appreciate it. I think it goes without saying that Rock Lee and Davis have a lot of similarities. So that's pretty cool. And I think also why people that like Davis like Rock Lee and vice versa. There's a loyalty. They lead with passion. They don't always think about what they're doing. They're both they never give up. They're certainly friends. Loyalty to friends is of his utmost importance. So that's pretty cool, and I love that about both of them. So
No, absolutely. I think that's where I lean in with them is they're both very passionate people, as am I. And no, the 3 of us don't always think about what we're about to go do, but we're gonna go do it at full 100%, full speed ahead.
yeah,
But I gotta ask, how did you get your start in the business of acting and voice acting? That's always the first question I always ask.
yeah. Well, there certainly is a chronology to life and one's pursuits. So, for me, I was very, very fortunate to have a little sister, Kelly, who also loved to perform and goof off. And so I have to really kind of trace my own career back to my childhood, because she was my biggest cheerleader and I was hers. And as I said, we both loved performing, and so we would always do these whatever, I'd pretend I was a hurt soldier and she was a medic, or whatever. I mean, we was just like, and then yeah, I mean, we ran the gambit of like silly scenarios and fabrications, and it was awesome. We got a big kick out of each other, and she also indirectly, or maybe directly, I guess, gave me a lot of confidence, because I think you need cheerleaders, and those cheerleaders, they bolster your confidence, they lift you up, they cheer you on. And so I would have to credit her with a lot of my inhibitions and even my confidence. So that's that. And then throughout school and high school, I did plays and musicals, college plays. I continued to do plays. And then I think for voice, what was instrumental in my career personally, I was a DJ on the air at college for 4 years. I had a show, which I loved. And that, I think, got me really comfortable in front of the mic, because I don't think it's just a very different medium. And even if you're a great actor and you love acting, when you're alone in a booth, i.e., sound studio, and it's just you and a mic, it's very different acting than being on stage or being in a movie or being on set, with other actors, be able to bounce off them. Because really, a lot of acting, 90% of acting is reacting, and they don't really tell you that, but that's the case. And so for voice actors, we have to create our own actions and reactions. And sometimes you get fed other characters' lines and what have you, but mostly you got to kind of create everything yourself and with the guidance of a director and what have you. But it's very different, and I think those years in the air really got me comfortable in front of the mic. Gave me confidence in front of the mic, and so that was really it. And then in 1990, I'm old, but in 1990, I moved to Los Angeles. Delivered a car to Los Angeles. I had a bicycle, 2 bags of clothes, a music box, which they don't even really talk about anymore. And I had my demo tape. I had made 30 copies of the stuff that I had done on the air, and hoping that I could get into the voice world that way. And that's kind of what happened. I distributed them to casting directors and agents, and I had a casting director bite. She gave me a real chance. She had one line in a McDonald's commercial, and she said, "Do you want it?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yes, of course I do." And I was giddy with excitement, and that was my first job. Got an agent, and then the rest, as they say, is history. But anime didn't really come to me. Digimon was 2000. Naruto, the beginning of Naruto for me was 2005. So those, came later, obviously. But yeah, that's kind of my trajectory.
Nice. I mean, they always say there's no small roles.
No small
Uh,
roles. That's right. That's right.
yes.
Yeah, my
So,
line in McDonald's was ants. I didn't know there's going to be ants at the picnic. And there you go. Yeah, no small roles, man.
well, you definitely voiced two very prominent characters. What was it? Because when you hooked Digimon, it was the second season. So were you
Yeah.
aware kind of like of the success of the first season, or was it almost immediately after and you didn't really have time to process?
No, it's interesting because a lot of people ask me what was the difference between Digimon and Naruto, and I think that was probably the biggest difference. I knew that Digimon was a hit and the first season was successful, and so I knew there was I suppose, a pressure to that, like not to blow it and screw it all up. So when I was handed the baton or the goggles, if you will, yeah, there was definitely, all right, I got to do this right, and I can't blow the franchise. And it proved successful, so that was great. And then that team, or some of that team, went on to do Naruto. So I was lucky because I was on a short list, based on the success that I had with Digimon, and of course knowing that I could, hold a show, be a lead, and kind of things like that. So, and those things matter. I mean, they definitely matter to producers and what have you. I mean, you're definitely only as good as your last gig, but sometimes it opens doors. And so I did it. I was on the short list for Naruto when it came along, but with Naruto, it really hadn't aired yet, or maybe I don't quote me on that, but I wasn't familiar. I don't think any of us, we knew it was a huge hit in Japan. I mean, we definitely knew that it was a big hit, but as you know, some things hit in America and some things don't. Some things that they assume are going to hit because they're a huge hit or whatever, they just think, oh, this is going to be a no-brainer, and then they crash and burn. They don't get any traction here, and some things are surprise hits, etc. So we didn't really know. We knew we were signing on for a hit in Japan, but it didn't have any history necessarily in America, or at least when I signed up for it. It just, yeah, it wasn't the blockbuster that it's become 18 years later, and the legacy show that it's become. So yeah, so that, I guess that was it, kind of in a nutshell. My understanding of both properties.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, because I know who did I interview? I Mark Hildereth. He
Oh yeah.
voiced he voiced Hero for Gundam. And when we were talking, he said he didn't really realize how big it was until he went over to Japan. He's like, "Oh, this is massive." And I'm
Yeah.
glad I didn't mess this up.
Yeah.
Um So because it was fairly early in your voice acting, what was it like being given, like you said, given the goggles for a show? Because you definitely just came in as as the new hero, you could say. You were definitely the team leader. Was there any kind of like translation of that with you and the other cast members?
I mean, it's such an isolated anime is very isolating. I mean, you might run into someone in the lobby, but for instance, Guy Sensei is played by Skip, and he and I worked on the show. He's my sensei, obviously, and we're the dynamic duo of humor on the show, if you will. I didn't meet Skip until June of last year. So you
Wow.
can imagine there's not a lot of chit chat. You kind of live in this little vacuum.
Mhm.
I didn't know how big Digimon necessarily was because it wasn't like I watched the first season.
Right.
I wasn't watching anime at that point. I knew what it was. I knew that Digimon was a hit. I was excited to get a lead on a show. A lead. Well, and I should say I was coming off Flint the Time Detective, which no one
Mm.
knew about, and I was the lead little boy
Hey,
on that.
I will say I remembered Flint the Time Detective, but I definitely I was talking animes with my friends the other day and I was like, does anyone remember this show or was it a fever
Yeah.
dream? No, I loved Flint back in the day. So
Well,
so
I think some people did, but I mean, that's a great example of, I'm sure they wished or had hoped that would be a hit too, and it just kind of crashed and burned. It didn't really do anything. I mean, it was on, and I was excited again to be a lead on a show, but it just never got traction. And so for Digimon again, it was exciting because it was already a hit. It was already like it was definitely like chit chat about. Whereas Flint, no one talked about, no one even knew it, and I didn't really even know how big Digimon was until I had some friends from college who had young kids or just it got I got wind of the fact that people are watching this and then I actually had a really kind of cool experience. I was going to see some family, and in the other room I could hear me on the TV doing the promos for Fox. So I'm like, coming up next. And then it bled right into Digimon, and I heard me doing Davis on Digimon. So that, as you can imagine, was pretty cool. And I think that's when I realized, oh wow, I'm in households across America. And that was pretty cool. And I also remember early on in my career, I was lucky enough I was the spokesperson for a pizza place called Shakey's. I don't know if you have them in Dallas, but I was doing all their radio and TV. And I remember walking on Venice Beach. A friend of mine from college was visiting, and we were on Venice Beach, California, famous Venice. And some storefront was blaring, their radio, and one of my Shakey's commercials came on, and I was like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. Excuse me, I just swore.
no,
But
no, you're good.
anyway,
You're
but
good.
yeah, so
PG-13, you're safe.
yeah,
You're
PG
safe.
13. Yeah. So, I mean, it's fun in that way because, yeah, it's just a kick. I mean, I was just like anyone else with a dream. And then I decided to pursue the dream. And then next thing I know, I'm walking Venice Beach and I can hear me doing a radio commercial on a radio. And so, yeah, it was a kick for sure. But that Digimon, I remember that very clearly because it was also like a double whammy. I was very lucky to be doing the promos, not all of the promos from Fox at the time, but some of them. And so like to lead and promo and then lead into a show that I was doing, like that was like, that was amazing.
I bet. I can't imagine. I know I've seen the closest thing that I have is because we talked about beforehand is pro wrestling. And I've
Yeah.
sent like links of my matches to friends. And then like it was funny. Literally, this just happened the other day. I sent one link to a friend and I was like, hey, here's the match. I know you couldn't make it because work and whatnot, blah blah blah. But they actually work at Collected, the comic store we're partnered with. And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I walked in and I was talking to them and they're like, "Oh, your match was so good." And I was like, "Thanks." They were mad because I had lost. And they're like, "It's so dumb. You should have won." And then the owner piped up from like the back and he's like, "No, I watched your match. It was really good." And I was like, "Oh." I didn't even know you knew I
Yeah,
was a wrestler. So,
that's awesome, man. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Does yeah, it's a kick, man. Well, I mean, really, with anything, regardless of what it is, when you see, I mean, the real, I think the test of like living a good life. Well, if it's positive, of course, there's plenty of negative ripples in the world, but I think if you see your positive ripple go on, either through, your children, of course, or but just things like that, knowing that you've affected someone's life in a positive way. I mean, that really is, that's why we're all here, or at least I think so. And knowing that you're making the world a better place, and that ripple just kind of goes on and on, and that ripple affects other ripples, and you just don't even know, right? It's like the classic. I equate it to teaching, right? It's that classic Mr. Holland's opus where teachers have no idea, really. I mean, sometimes in real time they'll get, thanks so much, or a parent will be like, oh, you changed my kid's life, or maybe a kid will come back, but not to the magnitude that really they are spreading that ripple. And often they never know. Certainly not in the way they should. But yeah, that ripple. Coach is the same, and there's plenty of examples, obviously. But
No, no, I completely 1000% agree. Like my favorite quote, probably of all time, is the Robin Williams quote. I don't know how much value I had in this world, but I made a few people happier than they'd been without me. And
yeah,
as long as I have that, I'll be as rich as I'll ever need to be. Like
yeah,
that is a quote I try to live my life by. So
yeah,
I completely understand the being the positive influence or the positive feedback to someone. I mean, I'm not trying to blow smoke or anything, but definitely like today, when I got off work, I was like, well, I'm about to go interview Rock Lee. I cannot skip the gym today because it's Rock Lee. Like, come on. I
that's right,
gotta get
baby.
in shape for it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, well, I'm glad I can motivate you today. Yeah, because I mean, look, we all know, especially as you get older, it's a lot easier to say no. It's a lot easier to not go to the gym. It's a lot, but that is, I think, what ultimately separates those, who find success with life. And by success, that's obviously very relative, depending on your definition of success. But the people that get out of bed and do the things that they don't want to do, and the gift of perseverance, if you will, to bring it back to Rock Lee, that is the nectar. It doesn't always feel like the nectar of life in the moment because it's painful or you're exhausted or whatever, but that's really where you find the truth of who you are, and your most authentic self, and also pushing you past those your own limitations, right? When you can get over those walls, those insurmountable walls, and see and peek over the other side. That's the good stuff, because really that's all we're really ever trying to do, right? Is we're just like Rock Lee is just constantly trying to find our best self, and that best self will continually evolve. You'll never actually get there, but you just keep trying to become your best self. And that's the beauty of Rock Lee, old Bushy Brown. I mean, he really does personify that, or as best an anime character can.
Oh no, absolutely. Definitely personification of hard work, because that man was told so many times, no, you won't have these fun abilities. You're not going to be as powerful as these people. But what's he do? He trains harder. He trains, probably three times as hard as everyone. And I think it shows just in the fan reaction of no, it
Yeah,
pays off. And especially just because it's my favorite moment, and it's gonna sound like a geek out moment, but the dropping of the weights off the ankles,
sure.
just
Gara, baby, the Gara
e-
fight.
every time I see that, just been like, oh no, you messed up, and now he's gonna show you that you shouldn't underestimated him. Uh
Yeah,
that's easily one of my favorite anime fights too. So like just such
yeah,
a good moment. So going back to the positive effects, the seeing well, literally hearing yourself on the TV. I know that you've been doing a couple convention appearances. What's it been like to be out in the world interacting with fans that, either grew up with or are just now
yeah.
discovering your characters? What has that been like for you?
Yeah, honestly, it's uh without sounding too wacky. It's a gift, man. I mean, it's been such a gift, a very unexpected gift, to be frank. I Digimon was a nice splash, right? But it was before like the real advent of Comic Cons, or at least anime Comic Cons. And I think, as if you liked anime, you didn't really tell too many people. You were on the
Yeah,
geeky
yeah, that
fringe.
was not the
Yeah,
opener of the conversation.
no, you weren't branded cool and hip. You're watching anime 20 years ago. And so just to see the evolution of anime in pop culture and its enjoyment, and now that everyone's super proud or have come to the table and was like, yeah, I mean, and a lot of people tell me that when I interact with them, like, yeah, man, 20 years ago, I had to find, like, hopefully find one other person who was into it. Otherwise I was just a nerd loser, watching at home alone and not telling anyone. And so those are fun stories, as you can imagine. But yeah, it's been such a gift. And you talk to anybody on any of these legacy shows. I mean, there might be some exceptions, because there are some jerks on the circuit, but I think most humble, good, nice people would admit that they never expected these legacy shows, i.e., Naruto, to have the success that it's had, to be as big as it is, to celebrate it 18 years later, to be on the circuit and to be showered with this adoration or appreciation. It's just been a gift, man. I mean, there's no other way to say it. And yeah, it's been a remarkable experience. I have yet to have a bad experience, thank God, knock on wood. Everyone's been super gracious. I've heard profound stories of how much the show, or maybe even specifically Rock Lee, has helped people get through bullying, depression, accidents, hard times, having to rehabilitate, like Rock Lee. A guy, I was at a con just at the end of last year. He came up to me and he's like, "Oh, I'm so glad I got you. I'm so glad we're finally meeting. I drove 6 hours to tell you this personally, but I was in Chicago one night and I got robbed and I got shot 3 times. And Rock Lee's rehabilitation after the Gara fight is what got me through it. It's what got, I mean, like that kind of stuff. And I'm just relaying like this beautiful, one of many beautiful stories. But that is remarkable. And especially, not only as a human, but certainly as an artist, as an actor, as a performer. I mean, you can only hope and pray that something you create at some point in your career, has that kind of effect on someone. Through Rock Lee, I've been given that gift in spades. It's been amazing. At least every con, at least one or two stories of profound value like that. And I think it's obvious. It's because it's Rock Lee, right? Rock Lee, very fortunately, my most iconic character, represents the gift of perseverance, determination, tenacity, never giving up, always leading with a pure heart. Like all these amazing qualities that I think I'm very lucky to be the recipient of, from the fans who come up to me, because he's gotten a lot of people through some hard stuff, and they've conveyed that they never gave up, and Rock Lee is what kind of leads them. I mean, hell, Rock Lee leads me. I got the bushy brow thing I showed you. I got this little figurine. Like, I don't have a lot of my acting stuff on my desk, but I have him because of that reason. Like, even I think he and I line up quite a bit, but I need to be reminded too. Like, I think the real heroes in the world are the people that get out of bed every day and have that kind of attitude. And so, yeah, I have this little figurine on my desk for a reason, because I need to be reminded too, that you carry on. You do the best you can, and you persevere and you share your gifts, and you always try to better yourself, and consequently with that you better those around you, and that ripple that we were talking about earlier. So but yeah, it's super awesome, man. And I think it goes without saying too, based on what I said earlier, like it is a vacuum when we work, especially as voice actors. And so to have interaction of any form, whether it's showered, appreciation or not, is great, because you really do, especially now post COVID, with everyone having our home studios, and like I'm in a closet, a lot of the time by myself. And so yeah, having that interaction, which I love. I mean, I'm a very social person. I love human interaction, and so to be able to do that at Comic Cons in that special way and that camaraderie, and that further, I will say, furthering that in a more macrocosmic way, as you've I'm sure experienced. Comic Cons are such an inclusive environment, and it's so awesome because especially in the world we're living in right now, it's fractured. I mean, we're just all this fighting, all these reasons to hate each other or whatever. And it's awful. It's so toxic and awful right now. And so these Comic Cons have created these wonderful environments. And whatever, not everybody loves each other. And not everybody's hugging each other, but it is in general terms a much more inclusive environment. And I friggin' love that. And again, I feel very grateful to be a part of that. So
No, that's absolutely wonderful. I know a lot of people that I've been able to connect with just because of anime, and it's funny to think about, when I was in high school, there's one or two kids that, oh, he also watches that. Cool. And like I said, one or two. And now there's whole conventions just filled with people that had similar experiences. It was rare to find one person with a Naruto shirt or
right,
played the
right.
I knew one kid in my neighborhood, and that's why we actually became friends, is because we both liked Naruto. We both played the games, the video games, the fighting games. And what's funny
Yeah,
is we always had to argue over who got to be Rock Lee.
yeah. Well,
He's
tell him
like,
I say hi
I
if
will.
you still talk to him.
I
Give him
will
my
send
best.
this to him after this. But yeah, it was always like, all right, who are we picking? He's like, Rock Lee. I was like, all right, pick someone else. um, but then I go out into the world, I go to a convention or either a convention or even my work, where I meet someone who's on the opposite side of the country, who has a completely different upbringing from me. Things that I've never had to deal with in my life, and I've dealt with things that he's never had to deal with, but we both love anime. We both have the same
Yeah,
favorite character, and just seeing that
yeah,
connection with people is so crazy. And
yeah.
it's an absolute just honor and gift to see now. And I mean, I kind of, not to be too mushy, I kind of have to thank, I have to thank other people that I've had on the show that give us that connection, because it means the world to us.
Mm. Yeah, well, look, right back at you because we be nothing without, people watching it. I mean, that's the reality. And but yeah, I mean, again, that's the thing. As I said, it's a gift. It really is, and to be a small part of that, and to create that ripple and those connections with you and the people that you found in the Comic Con world and otherwise, and that connective tissue. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Um, and also surprising for me, which has been remarkable, is I'm a disability advocate. That's like another part of my life. And what's been remarkable is I have found at the Comic Cons, and again, that inclusion, I have been so utterly, what's the right word? I mean, I've just been so surprised how my messaging with my disability advocacy and my messaging with Rock Lee have kind of blended through time, and it's been really kind of amazing because I've been able to find a whole new audience to celebrate, which is my disability advocacy is just basically celebrating the individual, and I think that is Comic Cons. It's celebrating the individual, and especially when you see it obviously in cosplay and that's probably the most obvious. But yeah, I mean, it's just really, I think people are really celebrated at Comic Cons, and it's as I said, it's great to see. I wish there was more of it in the real world, day to day real world. But I think because Comic Cons have become so popular in the last 5, 10 years, certainly in the last 5 and post pandemic last 3. I think, you know, that ripple will spread, whether we're aware of it or not. I do think that empathy and understanding and inclusion will spread, and God knows we need more of it in this world right now. So yeah, pretty cool.
That's so amazing. So we'll start winding down here. Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans, to the internet? Any maybe projects you could be working on in the near future?
Yeah, well, thank you for that, and thanks for having me and your time and your celebration of anime and all things Comic-Con and otherwise. But yeah, I mean, I was in and have been in for some more Digimon stuff, and the movie came out in the fall, that kind of a exclusive around the country, one night only. So that's been really really fun because, you know, as mentioned, you know, Digimon was almost 25 years ago. And so that too is just so crazy that we're back in the studio and recording stuff. And so that's been really exciting. Some of the stuff is obvious or is already out. Some of it's NDA and I can't talk about yet. But yeah,
Right,
it's
and
super.
I don't want to get you in any trouble.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I
studios
can't
don't
get in
come
any trouble.
after him. I'm
Yeah,
just asking. I'm just trying to get this man
yeah.
hyped up.
Yeah, no, but that's, you know, pretty cool. I've referenced, you know, my disability work, and you know, I made a documentary about my little sister Kelly and I guess at its simplest, it's a love story between a brother and a sister. But that was on Showtime and now Prime Video, and I think if anybody out here is watching and needs a little goose in life and a reminder of why we're here and you know, and why we love. It's a real celebration. It's 82 minutes. It's very highly rated, so you won't be wasting your time. But you know, you can watch that Kelly's Hollywood. You'll also get a little more, a piece of more of my life because it's me and my sister. So no stones unturned. But yeah, and yeah, I just want to thank all of you guys, whoever is listening and watching, and you too, Jay. That's it's just been a real honor. I'm I'm as I said, I'm shocked, and it's been such a gift to celebrate these shows and to feel all of your gratitude and appreciation through the years, and especially with the Comic Cons now. It's been super duper cool, man, and I feel very very lucky and fortunate. So thank you all, and you know, keep living like Rock Lee. Channel the best old bushy brow, baby.
That's so awesome, Brian. Thank you for joining me. And definitely, I'll try my best. Send me the link to that documentary, and I'll try to tag it here, in the description of the
Oh,
video,
sweet.
so people can watch that documentary. They can get their eyes on it because I want to watch it right now. Uh, so
Ah,
ev- so that everyone
you'll
can
love it, man. I
see
mean,
it.
it's yeah. Yeah, I
But
appreciate that. It's you know,
no,
I feel very
absolutely.
fortunate that I made a movie that I made a movie that's easy to recommend. You know, because I've been involved in a lot of stuff that it's hard to recommend. But yeah, this one I'm very proud of, and you know, it's a nice ride. It's a roller coaster for sure. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and everything in between. But yeah, it's a nice celebration of life. Yeah, but thank you again, man, for your time, and thanks for watching the shows, and I really appreciate it, man.
Oh, no, of course. It's the pleasure's mine and the honor of just having you on here. Such a two iconic characters, especially for me. But Brian, thank you for joining me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. And thank you for joining us. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, uh, go through all our other interviews with some amazing talents that we've gotten with. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys real soon.
All right, see you guys. Thanks again.